you and we'll start now. Okay. So recently in crypto industry, you would have heard a lot about DeFi, decentralized finance, and suddenly in 2020, I think around June, July, and September, there was a huge wave of decentralized finance, and people got mad, and a lot of applications were coming in, where some of the projects got burst also, some of the projects took off, so it's a very interesting area of blockchain application. Actually, if you see, DeFi is one of the, or decentralized finance, as you can call it, is one of those applications which I see having amazing future on blockchain. So why I will tell you in the coming thing. Okay, so first let's understand what is the difference, basic difference between decentralized finance and centralized finance. Centralized finance is something which is like run by something, a small group of people, and they are the stakeholders. Like, let's take an example for banks, are run by 10 to 15 people, board members, who eventually take decision for all the money staked on their bank account. Let's take example, if I have an account in ICICI bank, what to do with my money, the founder or the CEO of the ICICI bank, take decision. Okay, and that's how the centralized finance works. You know, money belongs to everyone, but the key staker and the stakeholders are very few, and we are actually at the mercy of them. Because they keep giving loans to all these big people without any any guarantee or something. And we have seen in the past, which has like happened a lot in the last 5 to 6 years, where banks have gone bust, especially cooperative banks, where they will just give loan without understanding, like under collateralized loan or without collateralized loan. And then even though you have deposited like 15 to 20 lakhs, all you get is 1 lakh rupees from RBI. So this is something very thought provoking, and people should think about how to go about centralized finance from here on, because the trust between the people and the government or the entities who handle this centralized finance has slowly been evaporating. And that's where decentralized finance comes. Decentralized finance is basically uh, it's a term for which the financial services are run by smart contracts on various protocols. So what are smart contracts? Let's take example. If Manav is a banking guy, and I want to open an account in his bank, I will go and sign up some forms. So that form is basically a contract between me and the bank, and Manav the enabler. Okay, but the thing is, this contract can be forged, because that's how they are made. They are made on paper and ink. So these contracts can be forged, and there's a lot of transparency, because a lot of terms and conditions are hidden. And you also don't have time to go through it and everything. So basically, decentralized finance is where, if you have a stake in some protocol or some bank or some lending protocol or something, if you have a certain amount of uh, tokens or something of that bank, or that protocol, basically you become a vote maker or decision maker or a stakeholder. And that's how the power is actually given back to the people, because we are the people who are contributing to that protocol. We are the people who are lending our money to that protocol. Because of that, our liquidity, that protocol is actually running. So you get the right to make the final decision, not the founder of the protocol, or likewise in the centralized finance. So DeFi is nothing but financial services run by smart contracts on various protocols. Now the smart contracts can be built on various blockchains such as Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, which is like Matic and Solana, and there are a lot of other blockchains also. But the most of the liquidity for decentralized finance is right now on Ethereum. Okay, because Ethereum was the pioneer to bring smart contracts. What is smart contracts? We got to know only through Ethereum. Before that, we didn't know what is smart contract. But scalable issues and high gas fee and everything has made people to look after various alternatives. And those alternatives is Binance Smart Chain, which has picked out a lot of activity, and in the recent times, and also trying to carve out a good market share from Ethereum. Even though it's a fork of Ethereum, but yeah, BSC is somewhere scalable and cheap. But somewhere I see it, getting contested in coming years where it will have problem like Ethereum only. you know but let's see if they are able to scale it up by then. And then you have Polygon Matic, which is like Indian pride, our own Indian product. It's a layer 2 built on Ethereum itself. So basically it's not a competitor to Ethereum, but it is like a complementing chain for Ethereum. And it also helps the same thing with a lot of scalability, lower gas fees, and amazing building infrastructure and everything. And as we speak, Matic has actually the most amount of dApps running on their chain. Okay, and Solana is like a new kid on the block. And from today or maybe in the next 2 3 months, you will see a lot of protocols coming on Solana. Like just like it came on Binance Smart Chain. So Solana is something you should not be missing out. So these are some of the blockchains which are actually where the smart contracts are built on, where these various protocols are running, DeFi protocols are running. Now, what kind of DeFi protocols are there actually? Manav, can you move to this next slide? Just let me know when you do it. Manav, you are on the third slide. This is yeah, okay, we are on third slide. Please give thumbs up if sometimes Manav is not responding. Okay, so the most common applications which we see as on today for DeFi is lending, trading, and marketplaces. Okay, lending trading is basically where you lend your USDT stables or volatile asset like Ethereum, and other ERC tokens, and basically you make a interest or yield out of it. And trading is basically all these decentralized exchanges like Uniswap, marketplaces are there, and the total value locked in the DeFi protocols as on today stands around 62 billion USD. Okay, now this is a counted one. Okay, a lot of protocols are coming every day, and a lot of TVL have added. But yeah, this data takes time to collect. But this is something I think this data as on it is not as on today, but it's from April, March, not April. Yeah, from April, and I'm sure today, as on today, we would have crossed easily $70 billion. Now, this is one of the most fascinating things. That DeFi, which was nowhere in the last 2 years, suddenly it has picked up so much. And we are able to see $62 billion worth of assets getting locked in protocols, in smart contracts. Like people are literally putting money into smart contracts and not bank accounts. If you understand, as on today, if I want to open something, open a industry of into a centralized finance, like a bank or a trading exchange or something, it will take so much time for me, to achieve this kind of value in my this thing, and at the cost of what I have to have so much of people, who have to hire so much of people. I have to hire like or rent commercial spaces where people can come and visit my branches. The trust will be there, a lot of things. And then there has to be so much of advertisements and everything. We have to keep brand ambassadors, for that, gaining their trust and everything. So you understand the cost that is going to go if I want to build something in centralized finance world. But all this has been done with a very small industry in cryptocurrencies, those who understand smart contracts. And in less than a year, we have been clocking 62 billion USD, and I'm very much confident this number are only going to go up. The people are actually trusting someone from a corner of the world. With 5 people, they are building a smart contract and putting some kind of logic to it, where people can lend money, borrow money, earn interest earn rewards in form of their protocol tokens. This is something which is really fascinating because I have so far invested into 5 to 6 DeFi protocols, and their TVL as on today stands to 25 to 30 million dollars. And they're all Indians. Someone is working out of Gujarat, someone is working out of Bangalore. So you understand the power DeFi is giving to the people, where they can make a simple website, a simple smart contract on Ethereum or Binance Smart Chain, and people from globe. This 25 to 30 million dollars is not coming from India only. It is coming from globe. So if means where you can get so much of trust. How means if I want to open a bank today, I don't know if people around me will actually come to my bank and deposit money, or lend money or trade on my platform. It's not that easy. But just because of a smart contract, the trust and the transparency on blockchain is so much that people are actually interacting with this kind of protocols daily. So some of this DeFi applications. Manav, you can move to the next slide. Okay, so some of these DeFi applications which are very big now and actually very well known. So lending and yield optimization, we have Compound, Aave, YFI. So Compound is basically a lending protocol where I will go and deposit some amount of like my crypto, maybe in stable coins or in volatile asset, and in that someone in need who needs a loan, they will come and borrow it. Okay, so what happens? The same thing happens in the bank also. When you go and deposit your money in the bank, they give you, if it's a saving account, they will give you 3.5 to 4%. And the bank who gives the loan to someone, depending on the type of loan, they will charge anywhere between 8% to 15%. If it's a personal loan, it goes to 15%. If a home loan, it goes to 8%. If it's a car loan, it goes to 11 to 12%. It depends on various things. But what happens in Compound when you lend something, and depending on the demand, if the borrower is paying 7 to 8%, the Compound protocol is such that they will pass on whole money or most of the interest to you. So you're not going to get the half of the interest. You are actually going to get 7 to 7.5%. If they're taking 8%, a minute percentage of that will go to the developers fee. Okay, because they have to maintain the code, they have to update contracts time to time. But you understand what is, like, not even 0.1 0.5% or even 1% people will take, and all your interest will come to you. Apart from that, since you are interacting on their platform by lending, they will give you rewards of tokens, like Compound token. You will get as a reward. Now this Compound token also has a value of 500 USD as we speak. So you understand, if you are going to deposit your money in ICICI Bank or HDFC Bank, all you are going to get is 3.5% to 4% of interest. Okay, they are not going to give you a reward on top of it or any stock on top of it. But this Compound or this Aave or this YFI, they are going to give tokens to you which will have some value, which you can sell it or keep it for yourself and actually become a decision maker in their DAO. So what DAO is basically a decentralized autonomous organization. So like we have the autonomous organization we have is a centralized one, but this is something called as decentralized one. So this stablecoin DAI, if you have heard about it from MakerDAO, this is actually very interesting. Like if you want to make your own currency, or like how government does it, basically they have to have gold. Okay, they have to have gold, and guys, that gold they will print money. Everyone knows that, but everyone also knows that we are way beyond that. Money is getting printed left and right. Even though that much gold we have or not. So this MakerDAO basically is a algo based protocol. Okay, where all the users who deposit the funds, so it has some value, right? Again, that value DAI is minted or mined. So let's take an example. If as on today, MakerDAO has $5 billion worth of TVL locked in their portfolio, in their protocol, you will see DAI getting minted against the same value. Okay, so the protocol has been made in such a way, the minute the TVL drops, automatically that much of dye will get burned. Or if it is more above, if the TVL goes above, then only you can make more dye. So actually the stable coin is backed by some kind of assets. Now these assets are crypto assets. You will tell, okay, it's a crypto asset, you are making money out of thin air or something, but it doesn't work in such a way, because uh, who are pledging their money in the world of MakerDAO actually believes in the crypto economy. Okay, same way our ancestors or our government believe in gold. So it's one and the same. There's no such thing. It's a thin or something. It's all about what do you think as a standard. And you start building money out of it. And the best thing is it's all transparent. It's all you know very trustable, and everything. You can see what kind of amount is there and how what kind of dye is getting minted. Okay, and the third application, which is the DEX. Okay, like we have seen so many hacks in centralized exchanges all these years, and it was high time for DEXs, to come and take a good market share out of it, and they pretty well they did it. Like Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap. You have seen their growth in the last 1 year has been tremendous. And again, this is like automated market making. So it's all about buyers and sellers coming for a coin or coming for a trade, and automatically with the code the trades happen. So there's no one to manipulate the trades. There's no one to market make it, or manipulate it. It's all automated. This is one of the best application of DeFi. And the best thing is the fund is always in your control. It's in your wallet. If you're not able to take care of your wallet, then only it's a problem, or it's all good. And then there are something called a synthetics, which is like we have some protocols like Meter protocol and synthetics. Okay, so basically what they are doing is basically they are moving the liquidity of real world stocks like Tesla and everything, and bringing on stock DeFi. What happens with this? Actually, you can buy a tokenized value of stocks, which is not possible, okay, in your centralized world. At the same time, you are able to speculate it on 24/7, because that's not possible in NSC or Nasdaq or anywhere else. So these are some of the amazing DeFi applications. Okay, Manav, let's go to the slide number 5. Okay, so to conclude, what DeFi is a fad or the future. So how I see it is basically DeFi actually is one of the most best use case blockchain can ever have. Because blockchain is all about transparency and trust. Okay, you don't have to trust. If you don't trust, you just verify on the blockchain and check it for yourself, because it's all transparent. And the biggest problem with the industry face of trust and all this is finance. Because so much of scams are happening. You don't know what is how people are printing money, how government is printing money, or there have been scams for banks also. There have been brokers who are doing scams, like they show that you hold a certain asset which you have bought on an exchange, but if you see in the back end, there's nothing. Because there's no way you can go and check it, because it's not physical, it's virtual, right? But the problem is it's not on blockchain. So I see DeFi as amazing application of blockchain, and I want to see a lot of applications built on DeFi. Because right now we are only limited to lending, borrowing, exchanging, but a lot of things can be done. Robo advisory is there, where you don't have to go to you know uh, 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 what should I tell, a financial advisor to take advice and pay a hefty fee, where they will give you a customized portfolio for your personal finance. At the same time, insurance, because insurance claiming has been a bitch, all these years. You are not able to claim insurance very easily, but once it's on smart contract and blockchain, you will get what you deserve. So it's a very interesting thing. Scams will keep happening. Because it's an unregulated world. That some things are beyond your control. But I am sure where we have protocols like Compound Aave. This industry is very much in right hand, and I want to see DeFi giving a solid fight to centralized finance. Because DeFi is something which is going to change a lot of like political funding, or funding of your friend's startup. Everything, if it happens on blockchain, it changes a lot of things. So this is what I wanted to say about DeFi. And coming to NFTs, I will keep it very short, because then we have to do some question and answer session also. So NFT stands for basically non-fungible token. Non-fungible token, basically it cannot be changed and are completely unique, like Ethereum. So Ethereum, if let's take an example, if there are 10 million Ethereums out there, every Ethereum has the same value. Okay, so they are not unique. They can be interchanged. I can send Manav one Ethereum. Manav can send me one Ethereum. There's only a transaction, but there is no such transaction which actually, like, it's just a normal transaction, one Ethereum to one Ethereum, but that is not in the case of NFTs. NFTs are completely unique and they cannot be interchanged. And basically, let's take an example. If you have certain NFT which have 5 editions, all the 5 editions will have a different identity to it, different unique identity to it, and there can be a way where you can sell all these 5 editions at different price, like a simple supply and demand. Initially, you have 5 editions. You make like 2 editions, so sell it for $50, and then there are only 3 NFTs left, or editions are left of that NFT. You sell it for $75. So basically the value will be never interchanged. At the same time, it will be completely unique. As of now, NFTs, how general people are seeing NFTs is like a pride of ownership. Like, people want to own cool stuff. People want to own stuff which actually give them the certificate that it belongs to them. Okay. So some of the applications of NFTs is basically arts, which is like you can see a lot of digital artists have actually popped out from nowhere, and they are selling their art day in, day out on various platforms. Okay, then there is music. Music can be an audio file like an MP3 or a video file that's MP4. Okay, then there can be collectibles. Collectibles can be virtual and physical. Okay, so virtual is basically, right, that you go on an exchange like OpenSea or Rarible, and you buy that collectible or that art which is virtual, and you can keep it on your wallet. Okay, the physical one is also there. Actually the physical ones are the one where let's take example like Gandhiji's spectacles or Gandhiji's clothes. This can be also be NFT. All you have to do is link it with a blockchain, give it a unique ID and fill the details on blockchain that this clothes or this spectacles or whatever belongs to such guy. Okay, and barcode it, and wherever you go, you can just take the authenticity of it and actually exchange it for a good value. Okay, so the biggest problem of counterfeiting or duplicating will get solved via this. The third biggest application is gaming. Okay, let's take an example. If I don't know how many people play, and I also don't play a lot, but let's take example, if you are playing a game like PUBG or Warcraft or something, where you get a weapon which is like only 5 editions there are there of that weapon, and then you can sell it on eBay or on marketplaces which support blockchain. So when there are only limited number of that weapon, people are going to buy it, just for the pride of ownership. So gaming has something. So about 3 applications which I told is basically, we are still finding how we can apply NFTs. Okay, and this is just a experimenting zone. But the next 2 are actually which I'm very interested into. One thing is real estate. Now, so real estate basically, NFT, the principle of NFT on which the pricing works will give a new life to real estate. I will tell you how. So basically, let's take example. I stay in Mumbai, okay, and Mumbai is a city where in South Mumbai a lot of these towers like Trump Tower and Omkar 1973 and all this World Center and all these big high-rise towers are getting built in Mumbai, okay, and if you see what they do, all the houses have an equal amount of square foot or area, but as the floor increases, the price of the house increases by certain value. Okay, so basically what happens that sometimes they will, like, because the person is the salesperson, right? So they will without giving any understanding or this additional price or premium what they are attaching to it, you know there is no such formula written out there, but what will happen once we have a unique identity for each house or each apartment, automatically it will become very transparent. Okay, and at the same time, since it's all on blockchain, even a person from Delhi can buy it without actually visiting the site. Now this buying, it's not I'm telling that they want to buy it for consumption. They can buy it for speculation, they can buy for investment. If I understand that there's a exciting investment opportunity in a tier 2 city in Bangalore, sorry, in Karnataka, which is near to Bangalore, but the prices are pretty cheap. And let's take example, a new Bangalore is going to come out of nowhere, like Whitefield. 10 years back, if you go to Whitefield, there was nothing. Now, if you see all these towers and everything, it's so pricey and everything. If 10 to 15 years back, I would have invested into a land in Whitefield, I actually would have made a lot of money. But being a Mumbaiker, that was not possible for me. But if we could have made that land into an NFT, and just for speculation or investment purpose, I could have started in Mumbai, and I had a proper website with all the details. I could have actually bought it on blockchain, and then once the price rises, I could have actually set at my home only and sold it at a higher price. So this is something which I actually believe will change the real estate world amazingly. At the same time, if you see, if there is a place like Goa, okay, now Goa is actually a very seasonal place, right? People go there from September, October till March. After that, nobody goes. you know so from September to March, there's a lot of demand for all these hotels. So what they can do, actually they can put it on NFT platform, the rooms, instead of a booking.com, because booking.com or make my trip will lock the room to 5K or 6K or something like that. And if there is a lot of demand for it, they will raise it to 2K or 3K more, like 8K max you can get. But just imagine if there is one room with a sea view and everyone wants that room. You can actually auction, like auctioning of hotel rooms, which is like, because everyone wants to go to Goa and everyone wants that room. Instead of 8K, they can sell it for 15, 16K. And why not? Why not? Because this is the only season where the Goans will make money, right? So why not? So this actually, all these thoughts are like a lot of people keep thinking of how NFTs will actually change the world of real estate or owning of assets. It's going to be really interesting. And right now, like I told, uh, we are still in experimenting phase when it comes to NFTs. Whatever is happening is all. I don't see any value to it. I don't see why someone will pay $69 million for a virtual NFT. But at the same time, today we are speaking in a in a application where you can see me virtually, not as me. So actually people are loving this virtual stuff. And why not, like, let's take example, near stage behind me, if there is a NFT by Beeple or NFT by someone, which will make the place more beautiful. If there is a background music going on, which is by produced by some of our own artists, and if it's going on the platform, and if it makes the ambience more beautiful, why not? So, but yeah, like I told, I don't see much value in that, but I do really see real estate and gaming industry especially making a lot of changes or what should I tell? A lot of growth in terms of real price discovery can happen through NFTs. So some of the NFT applications right now are like marketplaces where you can buy NFTs, OpenSea, Rarible, Calamint, NFT Alley, and some of the price discovery protocol which I spoke about. Is like Fusible and Pandora. So eventually, what's going to happen? Like people who love to buy luxury products like what should I tell? Like watches and everything, where they are limited editions. The only way to prove it will be a certificate on blockchain, because what happens when you buy a watch physically which is duplicate, it's also a high possibility that the certificate what they will give you can be a duplicate. Now for us, okay, it's a duplicate certificate, but for person who is going to spend millions of dollars, and for that person it matters that he is holding original piece, only blockchain can help it enable, because there's going to be no counterfeiting, because blockchain you cannot forge it. you know so this is something related to NFTs. Like I told, it's still in experimenting phase, and I want to see a lot of amazing applications coming out of the principle on which NFTs are built out of. And yeah, like it's pretty exciting. But if my view, as per my view, since I am a financial guy myself, I want to see DeFi getting more prosperous than NFTs as on today. And I already spoke about NFTs. Okay. Yeah. So thank you. This was my presentation, and this is Sachin Jain. And you can visit my website, and it's called www.meston.capital, and see various kind of protocols we have invested into. And if you guys are building something, if you are a developer, you can always reach out to me. There's a website, email ID on the website, and we are always looking to hire for our own protocols, various invested company. Okay, we are always looking for something out there, and at the same time, if you have an idea which is really groundbreaking, we do a minimum ticket size of 300K to $500,000. At the same time, we will help you to raise more funds. Okay, get marketing support, get right exchanges, uh, get right partnerships. So slowly, like we are new, so we are also trying to make a mark on the industry. Yeah, but together we can grow and prosper. And I'm always passionate about helping Indian startups, especially. With that, I will complete my presentation, Manav.
Thank you, Sachin. Guys, any question for Sachin? Anyone wants to ask anything? No questions? Sachin, why don't you share some recent projects or the trends that you feel about that the DeFi industry is seeing here, in the one next year that can come along? I would really like to know your views about it.
Sorry, Manav, can you come back? There was a lot of.
Sure.
No,
I'm just okay. I'm just saying that can you share the trends that you feel in the next 1 year you're going to see in this industry?
Okay, in DeFi industry. Okay, so basically,
yes.
A lot of this yield optimizing and lending protocols are coming out. So the future is going to be chain agnostic. So any protocol which is telling that they can chain agnostic platform is something I will look into, because Ethereum is pretty much gone now with all these scalable issues. But at the same time, you cannot leave Ethereum, because all the liquidity is on Ethereum. Even though Binance Smart Chain is there, Matic is there, and Solana is there has to be a chain agnostic or a cross-chain liquidity or a multi-chain liquidity protocols, where you can enter via one protocol and exit into some other protocol. So chain agnostic is the flavor of the season. And next I'm going to see something which is like really interesting, which I see is synthetic assets. Like owning tokenized stocks of various companies. where because if a Tesla stock is of $1,000, I can only invest $200. It doesn't mean that I cannot own Tesla. I want to own Tesla, and with synthetic assets, I can do that fractionalized owning. Okay, and something I am really interesting, which I'm actually myself working on, is the robo advisory platform, where I want to, you know, uh, remove companies like myself, that is Aveston Asset, where we take money from people and manage their portfolios. Why I will tell you one thing is basically the thing is that I will take your fund first of all, okay? And in blockchain, you should not give the fund to someone else. That is the honesty about it. The funds should be always in your control. But at the same time, why I am telling this, because with Ameston Asset, I can only deliver or service 50 to 100 clients. If I want to deliver 1 million clients, it's not possible for me. But if I make a smart contract around it with the logic I trade and everything, that's called the robo advisory. A lot of I can actually reach a bigger market. So robo advisory is something I'm looking into, like very passionately these days.
Thank you, Sachin. That was really insightful.
I
hope,
think someone
the-
from the audience is asking a question. Harshil,
yes,
Harshil, I think.
Harshil, please ask a question. Harshil, you are not audible.
Your microphone is disabled, I think.
Yeah, Harshil, now you can. I guess you are unmuted.
Yeah, Harshil, you can ask now. You are unmuted. Sorry, Manav, are you able to hear what he's telling?
No, I'm not able to. Harshil, why don't you write it in the chat?
Can you write it in the chat? We are all adapting to this new thing, so yeah, you can write it in the chat and I can read your question and answer it at the same time. Harshil, are you typing your question? Acha, I was planning to build. Acha, he's asking. Oh, nice. Okay, I was planning to build a synthetic asset for yesterday. Yeah, that is really amazing, man. This is really amazing because, like I told, right, a person from Delhi should be able to buy land in not only in India but also out of the country, and synthetic asset is going to be something really amazing. For real estate, where I will be able to buy a synthetic or futures or a derivative contract for the land. But the biggest challenge what I see as of today for that is your legal permissions. Because if you just want to just basically want to make something for speculation, there is no stopping. You can simply go and build it. Okay, but if you want people to invest and own it, then you have to take some legal permissions. But my main problem is how to fetch price for a land, because there is a price fluctuation in every 50 kilometers. So basically, what you can do is, you can assign average of cost in 100 to 200 kilometers, okay, and keep the common price for everything. Or else you can actually tag each and every location with certain square feet, because in Mumbai, in 5 kilometers, everything changes. In 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers range, the price goes double or half. So that's pretty common. It depends on the location a lot. So you can surely look into and what you can do, instead of going general with everywhere, what you can do is you can pick up some hot real estates. Like if I would have been you, I would have gone to South Mumbai. I would have taken Lodha, or I would have taken World Trade Center, or Omkar 1973. This kind of buildings, and I would only work on those because those builders are very reputable, at the same time very famous. So you will see a lot of speculators coming over there rather than someone who is not known. Okay, then there is another question from Mustaq. What is the robo advisory that you are talking about? Okay, so this robo advisory we are planning to make it on Nord Finance. You can go to the website called nordfinance.io, and the version 1 of that robo advisory is going to come up on maybe in next 1 month. Okay, but if you want to see how it works in centralized finance, you can check apps called as Kuera. That's an Indian app, Kuvera, Kuera. It's a mutual fund app where there are goals where you can invest for a car, invest for your marriage, invest for your personal goals, invest for your house, and depending on your risk appetite and the time horizon, what will happen? The app will suggest you five six assets where you can diversify your portfolio and invest into it. Then there's a question from Ahmad Ghaziani. Sachin, when you say there is so much liquidity and borrower can borrow, but he has to provide collateral also, don't you think money which is coming is a fund money or a trap to investor? Okay, so Ahmad, your question is very much logical. Okay, but as of now, as of today, what happens? Why there is a collateral? You know, because we don't have a credit rating system, like we don't have a CIBIL, like our like what happens in India or other financial world in any country. So there's a CIBIL score or there's a credit score on basis of which the bank gives you loan. But here you don't do your KYC, your bank accounts are not linked to anything. So you only have a wallet address which is on Ethereum or any other blockchain. And the more slowly, what will happen? The more loans you take with collateral, you will start building a credit score. Okay, and that on basis of that score, you will actually start getting loan which are non-collateralized. Okay, maybe this will happen down the line, maybe in next 2 to 3 years, not immediately, but yeah, this is going to happen. I know a lot of people working on this, and this is an interesting idea. If someone can crack this credit score of blockchain wallets, this is going to be an amazing thing, because no one wants to give collateral and take loan, right? Because then it doesn't make sense. But as of now, why it makes sense? Let's take an example. If I want to liquidate some amount of money, okay, and all I have is Ethereum in my hand, okay, but I see Ethereum is very bullish and I don't want to liquidate my assets. So what I will do, I will go and take those Ethereum on a platform like Compound or Aave and take loan, go back, use the loan for whatever the need I was taking it, come back, and pay the loan and take my Ethereum back. So if in this process, if Ethereum goes from $2,000 to $3,000, I am not losing on the value that appreciated in the last 10 days. So this is actually a good thing. Okay, yeah, but as you said a non-collateral loan should happen, but that is where the credit history will come into place, and it will take some time because no one wants to do KYC. Because if they want to do KYC, then it doesn't make sense. So Ahmad, that's what I am telling. So Ahmad have asked a question. In blockchain world, we don't trust anyone. So how we can trust on the credit rating product? So basically, this credit there is a voice.
Oh, absolutely.
Manav, can you mute yourself? Yeah, thank you.
Sorry,
Manav.
sir.
Okay. So basically, in blockchain world, we don't trust anyone. Is like, why is you don't trust anyone? Because the projects somewhere when there's no regulation, there will be bad people also who will come and spoil the things for you. So in that also you have to choose your lending or borrowing platform very carefully. That's why only out of hundreds of applications which are out there, I am repeatedly telling Compound Aave, because they are very big to fail now. Each of them have $5 to $6 billion of TVL. They have proved their trust and everything. So give it time. I will say give it time, and slowly you will see a lot of good protocols staying back, and that credit. So what will happen? Slowly, people will use the same wallet who believes that he wants to take a loan in future. And people will start doing that once the products are made, so you have to give it some time, according to me. Acha, Harshil has another this thing. Harshil Bhagat, can I build something like rights like tokenizing and distributing to people? Is there any website which update the prices? I remember government website which gives it. So basically, there is a government website which gives you updates on the price, but that is not a right value. It's just a notional value. Okay, but this tokenization rights is actually going to work out. I will suggest you to look at Fusible. Okay, Fusible is also a price discovery protocol for NFTs, and it's the product is under testnet as of now. Okay, just see how it is built, and you can read the founder Santosh. He's a good friend of mine, and you can ask him questions regarding this. But the problem with real estate, the problem is this: the data is not streamlined because there is no such. Now I do in gold, right? Gold ka value I have in dollars, in rupees, and everything. But real estate, there is no such thing where you can actually understand the true value of it. And that's why we need such protocols where this irregularity or price fluctuations can stop. Because right now real estate works as a mafia, and because of no systems, and also the government, the rates on the government website you see is not real time, but it's a huge challenge to solve, huge problem to solve, but it's very interesting. And slowly as people start moving to tier 2, tier 3 cities because of COVID, a lot of people have understood that you don't have to stay in metro cities. This real estate mafias will fall to their knees, because there will be no such demand, because the people who actually pay for this real estate very high price are the people who are coming from other cities. They migrate from there, right? So once these people are not there around, they will slowly come down to their knees, and things will get straightened up. So that's why all these schemes like RERA and stamp duty and everything, actually government is also trying to do something, but it's a very huge mafia. It's a very huge mafia, so give it time. So there is one more question and then we will stop it, because I have some work. So there's a final question from Vikram. I'm working on a crypto derivative DeFi product for options trading. Can you provide any input? Okay, so options trading is something a lot of people have tried. Like there is something called as the opt-in, there is something called as the hedget and everything. But the biggest problem what I see in options trading for crypto derivative is the lack of understanding of a lot of the users we have. I speak to a lot of traders and everything, where they don't understand options, they don't understand how to make money through options, how options work. And that is the same story in stock market also. A lot of people actually don't understand options, because options actually has a lot of maths to it, a lot of logic to it, and people have to understand the value of theta, beta, gamma, and all these things, and how it impacts the price. Okay, so what I will suggest you is look at products like Sensible. Sensible, not Sensible. Sensible is one of the amazing products which I have seen in stock market for options. Then there is something called this Optra DeFi. Okay, so in that what happens, you actually educate the person. Let's take example, if I want to say that BTC is going to get $60,000 from now, from here to now, so I am bullish. So what kind of option I should purchase? If I give that much of logic to your smart contract should be able to give me 5 kind of different strategies. Okay, buy a bull spread or short calendar put or something like that. A strategy will come, and slowly people will get adapted to it, because there you will be able to see the risk reward before taking the trade. So this is actually going to work. So you should check out one of my portfolio company, which is called Odds Finance, ODDZ.finance, and we are working on that. The product is already on mainnet and I've tried it. Testnet and I've tried it. It will be on mainnet. And Sridhar, who is the co-founder of Odds Finance, is a very nice guy. If you want anything, you can take my email ID from the website and ask me for connection. I will be happy to connect you with Sridhar, and they will be happy to help you with your research and your product also, because we are all at a very nascent stage trying to build something, so the knowledge what you have, the knowledge the other party have, can together work on something amazing.
Thank you, Sachin, for taking out time and speaking to our participants. That was a really insightful talk, and we all learned a lot from you. Thank you.
Thank you. There are virtual caps also. Wow, this
Yes.
is interesting. I'm liking this. This is actually better than Airmid. Like we used to do on Airmid. This is actually better than that.
Yes, it has its own perks. Surely, it is good.
Yeah.
It's a good change from all that. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
All
Yes,
right.
yes.
Thank you, Sachin. Thank you, everyone, for joining in.
Thank you, Manav. Thank you, Akshay. Thank you, Blockchain India, for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And whenever you guys call, I will be there. Sometimes I don't reply to email immediately, but I will come. So please keep calling me. I really like to interact with people and share what I understand. And like I told, we are investing and hiring at the same time. So anyone having any idea or anything which you think we can help, we can be a help of, you can reach out to Manav, or you can come to our website called amestal.capital, or even reach out to Akshay, and they will direct you to me. Thank you, guys, and stay safe, stay at home. Things are not looking good, but this time will pass. Let's stay strong and take care of your family, guys. Bye.
Thank you, Sachin. Thank you. Always happy to have you, and we'll look forward to having you again in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Manav.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Stay safe, and see you again for our next internal call tomorrow, where we will be having a session with Arnav and moving ahead from there. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening.